oh, I might be able to beat you now. And then he's like, you want to try? And he's like, sure. And he gets his face punched in, which had me laughing. I'm not gonna lie, it had me freaking laughing. So it's been about 2 anime seasons in length since we had the last new episode of Mushoku Tensei. And now, at long last, this Sunday, we have the newest episode. We have Core 2 of Mushoku Tensei that has started. And I couldn't be any happier right now because, as you all know, I've been pumped because this series is just so freaking good for a variety of reasons. One of the biggest reasons that drew me to the series and why I continuously praise Mushoku Tensei is because of the immersion. There is just something about this series, the way they kind of throw in these little details, the backgrounds and the side characters and everything, that really just adds so much life to the series. And this episode, the first episode of the second half, is outright amazing. The reason why is because there's so many little nitty-gritty things thrown in that just make me incredibly excited for the things to come. Because, I mean, let's just take a moment to talk about, let's say, Rudy walking through the town. There is so much life in the background. Like, you get to see characters moving and doing their own thing, that it really just adds so much more to the environment. Because when you're, let's say, watching an anime, you know, you have it to where the main character is front and center and they're the focus, but most of the time you don't really see much going on behind the scenes. You just have like a plain background maybe of walking through an alleyway or whatever, and even Mushoku Tensei does have scenes like this. Not going to try to defend it on every single individual scene, but the point is Mushoku Tensei, the animators that is working on this, are trying to make it feel like the environment around our group of characters is alive and moving onward, that there is things going on, and it's not just static behind the scenes, that you have it to where the environment is progressing. For instance, if Rudy and his party was somehow to be, you know, I guess killed and they die, the world would still continue moving on instead of the storybook just closing and that's the end of the story. I do like that. I like that vibe, that feeling, and that is why I've been so drawn to this series for a long time now, is because of that immersion factor. However, there is so much more going on than just immersion when it comes to this first episode. One of the big things I do want to talk about is the opening sequence of this episode. That entire opening sequence is such a flex with animation. To seeing Eris, like, just run across the beach and all that, and when you see her run to the ocean edge, and then she, like, starts to move her equipment around, all that on her, just everything about that sequence, the animation is very crisp. And if that is something to indicate what to expect from this season, I don't know what else can, because it really shows that there is a lot of effort and quality being put in to this season than the first half we already got. Which, I mean, when you look at the first half, it was already good, and I praised it many times because, I mean, there's GIFs you can look at for Mushoku Tensei and see for yourself just how beautiful it really is, and, you know, that obviously in GIF form it isn't the best of quality in comparison to actually watching an episode, but just when you think about what we got at the beginning of this episode, it really speaks volumes about how good this series is going to look in the upcoming episodes when things really start to go crazy or whatever. I'm excited, and I cannot wait to actually see what this season has in store for us. But besides obviously the animation, there's other things that this episode does as well. I do love how the opening song is used once again, and it's one of the big things that I really loved about the first half of Mushoku Tensei, and that was that the opening song was played over individual frames and shots of showcasing the world around it, kind of telling its own story without dialogue. For instance, if you look at, you know, the first half we got, there's many times where you saw, let's say, Rudy training, and, you know, you just had the music playing over it. And in this episode, we have kind of something very similar. You see our group of characters just walking through town, which goes along with the immersion that I was already talking about, but you also see just how, you know, their day-to-day activities of how they're trying to actually figure out what they need to do next, you know, going to, you know, over the ocean to where they need to go, and I like that type of stuff. That type of stuff right there adds so much more detail to it. They're using that added time from the opening song to tell a better story, and what I mean by that is, it kind of reminds me of Re:Zero. If you remember what I talked about when it came to Re:Zero many months ago, is that Re:Zero was cutting its opening and ending song just to be able to have more runtime to tell the story, to adapt more content. And I talked about this. It's like, imagine giving up, you know, your opening song and ending song just to be able to give the adaptation that a series deserves. And that's kind of what Mushoku Tensei's team is actually doing. They're giving up the opening song's visuals to be able to have more time to kind of set up the story. So I really do appreciate that level of detail. It really goes to show the commitment and passion of the team working on the story to actually be willing to do something like that. But obviously, there's other things too, besides just the opening song, the opening sequence, etc. We got the stuff with Rudy and how he obtained a demon eye. Now, this is easily one of the most fascinating parts about today's episode, and that is Rudy getting the demon eye. Now, from what we could see that was kind of explained to us, the audience, is that Rudy is now capable of having foresight. He's able to see like a few seconds into the future of what is actually going to happen. Now, as you know, I'm anime only, so I don't really know what to expect. But I'm going to go on a limb here and assume that probably Rudy's going to get even better with the demon eye that he has obtained, and eventually he's going to be able to see probably very long far into the future. Maybe he might have some visions or something, being able to see maybe months at a time in the future. I don't really know. I'm just taking a pop shot in the dark right now. But the point I'm trying to make is that Rudy has obtained quite the power, which is foresight. And foresight can be a really broken ability if used in different ways. Like, you know, it would enhance Rudy's combat capabilities, which we do get to see firsthand within the episode, that he's able to actually fight Eris on an even playing field and even win against her, even though Eris has been putting a lot of time and effort into strengthening her power in hand-to-hand and sword-fighting combat. It shows how much, I guess, bonus or boost, you know, Rudy got when he obtained that demon eye. But obviously there is some limitations and some weaknesses, which is what, you know, Rui actually showcases to, you know, Rudeus himself in this episode. For instance, when he is like, oh, I might be able to beat you now, and then he's like, you want to try it? And he's like, sure, and he gets his face punched in, which that had me laughing. I'm not gonna lie, it had me freaking laughing. But basically, once that was done, you know, we got a good insight that just because Rudy's able to have foresight and he's able to see what is coming maybe a few seconds into the future, it does not mean that he's able to react in time. And this is something that, you know, is constantly presented with this type of ability with foresight. Like, the major weakness is that just because you could see what's about to happen doesn't mean that you're going to be able to have the reaction time, the speed, to be able to do anything about it. And because Rui is obviously incredibly powerful, and we know he's fast, you know, there's just no way with what we've seen from Rudy that he would be able to actually dodge and fight back, even if he knew what was coming. In fact, I feel like it would make the trauma and the pain of the fight even worse, because he knows he's about to get punched, and there is nothing he can do about it, and he's going to take it full on. So I find that incredibly funny, and I had a good laugh with that entire sequence of this episode. But let's dive into the demon eye for a second. So, Rudy got a demon eye. And what is basically established is that this is an incredibly rare thing, but it does happen from time to time. You know, individuals can obtain demon eyes. Now, we don't really know the qualifications of how this necessarily works. From all we got from the episode is that this self-proclaimed demon empress, you know, forced upon a demon eye on Rudy, and now he has the ability of foresight. But we're not really given much more details of how it really is obtained. She just looked like she shoved something into his eye or messed with his eye, and that was about it. But we don't really get any more confirmation. We don't really know exactly if this is only because if she owes you a favor, she's able to do it, or if she could just give it to a demon eye to anyone, if she has a limited amount of demon eyes. We don't really know, and I wonder if that will be elaborated upon in the future. I'm assuming it is, since, you know, it was a major focus point of today's episode, you know, with Rudy getting such an upgrade with his abilities now of having foresight. But I just feel like, I wonder if it's only the Demon Empress that's able to gift eyes to other people, or if other demons can actually do this as well. Which, let's talk about the Demon Empress for a second. So, first impressions, I knew that she was going to be wacky and insane, especially from the brief little moment we got with her in the first half of Mushoku Tensei, but actually getting to see her animated this week was something that I was just like, whoa, she's crazy. Like, that's my overall impressions of her. She is crazy, like nuts. And I feel like there is so much life and effort put into her scenes that you can see whoever is animating her sequences are really having a good time. because it's like she has so much emotion and life in her face with the different moments, the different still frames and stuff on her face. They're constantly moving. There's not a single frame that is wasted with her character on screen, which once again goes to show the dedication. I mean, I've already talked about how there's a lot of dedication that's been put into this episode alone, but when you look at her, entire scene, it really does stand out in terms of just beauty and quality. I feel like her entire demeanor is such a tonal shift in comparison to what we've got. I feel like when she was shoving the eye into Rudy's eye socket, in most sequences you think, holy crap, that's horrifying, but with her demeanor and how she was acting, I felt like it really suited the tone, and it just goes to show the insanity of the character and how well she fits with what she was doing throughout the episode. I do wonder if we're going to get more of the character. Hopefully this isn't just a one-time thing for this entire season. Hopefully we get more of her to appear, because I would love more of her. She's a very interesting character, and I do wonder if she really is a demon empress, or is she actually self-proclaimed. But whatever the case may be, Rudy definitely got quite the upgrade within this episode, which, let's move on to some other things. So we also have the smuggling across the ocean. We need to figure out a way for our characters, or they need to figure out a way to get across the ocean. And I love the very serious conversation that Rudy has with Rui, and he's like, I will turn a blind eye to evil until we get across the ocean. This shows trust between the two characters, and also how they're willing to continue their journey. They're not going to stop over something very small and minor, for instance, trying to save up money. If they can smuggle someone across the border, they will. I do think that is incredibly interesting to see the development of the characters, and I love how the series continuously brings up this conversation between Rui and Rudy, and how they're constantly discussing, is it okay to be this sometimes, or evil or good sometimes, and how they're both trying to have an effect on each other. They're both changing as individuals as the story progresses. So yeah, I do wonder where it's going to go. I do wonder where, this season is going to take us, because it's already starting off to be very good, and I'm just, like I said, I'm happy to have this series back. It is easily one of my favorite series from this year of anime, and it just seems like, Fall of Anime 2021 has finally officially begun because of the series airing today. But I want to leave it at that, though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe, please leave a like if you like this video, and be safe, guys. Stay healthy. Chibi out.